Now this is going to be a little bit different than the getter setter methods. There's a number of ways we could do this. There's a better way and there's a pretty annoying way. We'll do the better way, and that is each message list will have a class instance of itself. Basically what I mean by that is, I'll show you. So we're going to create a new class and we'll call this message list and go ahead and hit finish. And how this class will work is when we create a message list, we will need a name to create it. String name. And we're also going to want a variable for that name. And as you can see, I am referencing a class variable versus a private variable. So we need to have this dot name, and it's message list. Right. So just like that, this is the constructor again. So every time we make a new message list, that will be called. So we're also going to need all of the rest of the default variables from the config. So that was private. It's a Boolean enabled. Another one is if it is going to be random. I'll go ahead and type all these out and come back. So now, just like before, I have created all default settings for all of these as soon as the message list is made an instance of. These can all be changed using the methods we will create. It's pretty basic. We're just giving them values so they will never return null, or it won't give us a message that they might not have been created. So now we'll go ahead and make getter and setter methods for all of these. So public string get name, return name, public void set name, and that will require a parameter actually. And again, we need to reference this dot name in order to make it clear which name variable we want to use, because there is two. Okay, so now that we have created all of the getter and set methods for each of the variables, you will also notice that I've changed the methods up in the constructor to call the methods down below, because that makes it a lot easier to only change something twice, to not have to change it twice or more. Now there is something special that I would like to do for the messages. Rather than being just setting the list string of messages, which we should still leave there, we should also add message and just have them add a string message to the list. So messages dot add, just like that. And this allows them a method that they can just add a single message to it rather than having to get the list and then add it themselves and then set it. They can just use this single method. Makes it a lot easier. Now that we have all that, go back to the message API, and we're going to make a method to create a message list. And this message will be called every time we run the plugin, and it will create a new message list. A message list, by the way, is all of this stuff. That is one message list. All of the settings for one, like VIP or default. And now we will go ahead and do that. So public static void create message list. And that will take one parameter, because that is all our class takes. And here we can make a new message list parameter class or instance. Man, my words are just not coming to me today. Anyways, what we also need to do is, okay, if we create this instance here, how are we ever going to be able to get anything from it? How are we going to be able to get that value? Well, it's pretty simple. what we can do is use a pretty awesome variable. It's called a hash map. And we'll go ahead and give it two parameters, a string and a message list. And you declare it just kind of like an array list. It's very similar to an array list, but what it allows you to do is for every string in the list, each string will have its own message list. So every time you add something to this list, it'll have it's basically a double layered list, kind of. You can think of it like that. So now if we want to just go ahead and shorten this up, you can create this, but a little bit cleaner way to do it and faster, and for us lazy people, which by the way pretty much all programmers are lazy, you can just create a new instance of it in the parameters. So the first value is going to be the name, and then we'll create a new message list name, just like that. And now we have created a new message list. So that's pretty simple. Whatever the name is of the message list, if we wanted to call it default, that's what the hash map will have. It'll have default, and it'll have a message list class going by that name. I guess technically the way we set this up, we don't need to have the parameter name there. We can just go ahead and leave it there for now. And now, of course, we need a way to get this message list. So public static message list, because we're going to be returning that class, get message list, and we're going to give it, we need to get it by the name, and we're going to return message list dot get key. I'm used to NetBeans where it fills that in automatically. There we go. And so now when we create a message list, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself, but I feel like I'm also not being very clear in the beginning, so I want to repeat this to make sure it's clear. Anyways, when we create a message list, we're giving it a name, and the plugin will create a new message list instance by itself. You don't need to even do that, and it's adding it to the hash map. So this name now has a message list class to it. And in order to get that message list class, in order to reference the one that we created, we give it the name that we want to get from it, and we return the message list, which is that, and it is linked to the string name there. We can also create a nice little method to get all the message lists that are enabled. So get enabled message lists, just like that. I feel like I say just like that a lot. Remember, this is a fairly advanced tutorial, so if you haven't used some of these variables before, that's totally cool, and you can keep on learning, or you could keep experimenting. That's exactly what I do. I did. Half the time I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I just went for it. I'm like, all right, I don't quite understand it, but maybe I will very soon. And I kept working, and I'm so excited because I'm finally starting to wrap my mind around how awesome programming is. Anyways, we forgot the return type. We'll go ahead and make it a list of strings. I'm just thinking how it'll be easier when we are saving stuff in the config, because the Bukkit config uses list strings by default. Now the red line is telling me that dude, you forgot to give me a return value. And the list cannot be instantiated. I still can't say the word. So you have to create it as an array list. It's pretty much polymorphism. You can read up on that too. Some big words there. So result.add s. And then we're going to return the result. Let me know if this is too confusing or too long, or what you guys like, because I'm really struggling with knowing if I'm going too in depth with this or not. Anyways, that's the gist of it. The next tutorial will be loading all of it, and the third tutorial will be the most fun because we'll be creating the threads and such to output the message to the players, and we'll be finally exporting and testing the plugin, which will be really exciting, and I can't wait for it. And hopefully this video is not too long, so I'll just go ahead and stop talking. My name's Kenny, and I'll see you guys next time.